In this presentation, we review the Illinois Community Reinvestment Act's Small Credit Union and Intermediate Small Credit Union performance standards. This presentation is for informational purposes. This document does not amend any requirement of the Illinois Community Reinvestment Act and its implementing rules. The information contained in this presentation should not be construed as legal advice. Performance criteria. Small credit unions with less than $412 million in total assets are evaluated using all applicable assessment factors and a modified lending test. Intermediate small credit unions with $412 million to less than $1.649 billion in total assets are evaluated using all applicable assessment factors, a modified lending test, and the community development test. Please note, asset size thresholds are adjusted annually and published on the department's website. The QR code on the references page near the end of the video provides access to the most current thresholds. All credit unions are evaluated using applicable assessment factors to evaluate whether a credit union is meeting the financial services needs of local communities consistent with safe and sound operations. The assessment factors are how the credit union identifies community needs, marketing efforts to make the assessment field aware of products and services, mortgage lending, including home improvement and rehabilitation loans, and other efforts that help low and moderate income residents remain in affordable housing. For small business and farm lenders, loans to businesses or farms with gross annual revenues of $1 million or less, especially in low and moderate income neighborhoods. Participation and investment in community development and redevelopment programs, including but not limited to small business technical assistance programs, minority-owned depository institutions, and community development financial institutions, or CDFIs. Efforts to work with delinquent customers to resolve delinquencies, whether lending patterns contribute to the loss of affordable housing, any evidence of discriminatory or prohibited practices, retail banking services for unbanked or underbanked persons. The lending test for credit unions with total assets less than $1.649 billion. Both small credit unions and intermediate small credit unions are evaluated using a modified lending test. The credit union's lending performance in home mortgage, small business including small farm loans, community development lending, consumer lending, or any other type of lending as applicable is evaluated using the following criteria. Loan-to-share ratio. Lending to borrowers of different income levels and businesses and farms of different sizes. The geographic distribution of loans in the context of the credit union's assessment field. The credit union's response to written complaints, if any, and performance related to fair lending policies and procedures. For credit unions that make business or farm loans, the origination of loans to businesses or farms with gross annual revenues of $1 million or less, particularly in low and moderate income neighborhoods. Community development test. Intermediate small credit unions will also be evaluated on its community development performance using the following criteria: the number and amount of community development loans, the extent to which the credit union provides community development services, the credit union's responsiveness through such activities as community development lending, investment, and service needs, and if elected by the credit union, the number and amount of qualified investments. Performance rating for the lending test. The lending test performance ratings for small credit unions and intermediate small credit unions are satisfactory, outstanding, needs to improve, or substantial noncompliance. A credit union's lending performance is rated satisfactory if in general the credit union demonstrates a reasonable loan-to-share ratio, a majority of its loans are in its assessment field, a reasonable distribution of loans to individuals of different income levels and businesses or farms of different sizes, a record of taking appropriate action in response to written complaints, and a reasonable geographic distribution of loans. For a lending test rating of outstanding, a credit union must meet each of the standards for a satisfactory rating and exceed some or all of those standards. A credit union may also receive a rating of needs to improve or substantial noncompliance, depending on the degree to which its performance fails to meet the standards of a satisfactory rating. Performance rating for the community development test. Please note, small credit unions are not subject to this test. The Community Development Test performance ratings for intermediate small credit unions are satisfactory, outstanding, needs to improve, or substantial noncompliance. For a satisfactory rating, the credit union demonstrates adequate responsiveness to the community development needs of its assessment field through community development loans, qualified investments, meaning investments, deposits, membership shares, or grants with a primary purpose of community development, and community development services. The adequacy of a credit union's response depends on its capacity for community development activities, its assessment field's needs for those activities, and the availability of opportunities in the credit union's assessment field. A credit union may be rated outstanding if it demonstrates excellent responsiveness to community development needs in its assessment field through community development loans, qualified investments, and community development services as appropriate, considering capacity, need, and availability. A credit union may receive a rating of needs to improve or substantial noncompliance, depending on the degree to which its performance fails to meet the standards for a satisfactory rating. Overall ILCRA rating for small credit unions. In addition to relevant assessment factors, a small credit union's overall ILCRA rating is based on its performance under the modified lending test. For an overall ILCRA rating of satisfactory, a small credit union must meet the standards for a satisfactory rating under the modified lending test and exceed some or all of those standards. For an overall ILCRA rating of outstanding, a small credit union must meet each of the standards for a satisfactory rating under the modified lending test and exceed some or all of those standards. In making this determination, the Secretary considers the extent to which the credit union exceeds each satisfactory standard, its performance in making qualified investments, and its performance in providing branches and other services and delivery systems that enhance credit availability in its assessment field. A small credit union may receive an overall ILCRA rating of needs to improve or substantial noncompliance, depending on the degree to which its performance fails to meet the standards for a satisfactory rating. Overall ILCRA rating for intermediate small credit unions. In addition to relevant assessment factors, an intermediate small credit union's overall ILCRA rating is evaluated using the modified lending test and the community development test. For an overall ILCRA rating of satisfactory, an intermediate small credit union must receive at least a satisfactory rating on both the modified lending test and community development test. To be considered for an overall ILCRA rating of outstanding, an intermediate small credit union must receive a performance rating of outstanding on one test, either the lending test or the community development test, and at least a satisfactory rating on the other test. Credit unions may also receive an overall ILCRA rating of needs to improve or substantial noncompliance, depending on the degree to which its performance fails to meet the standards for a satisfactory rating. In summary, the section on small credit union and intermediate small credit union performance standards consists of performance criteria and ratings for the modified lending test, the community development test as applicable, and the overall ILCRA ratings. We hope you found this presentation useful. For more information, please scan the QR code and refer to the Illinois Community Reinvestment Act rules for credit unions. Thank you.